This is the Shopware Hub Cast, where your host Sander Mangel and Dennis Höting, resident Community Hub expert and Director of Product Development at Shopware, uncover the stories of the people that make our community. This episode, they talk to Christian Dangl, Head of Technical Development at Dasist Web, on why he started contributing to the community.
Christian, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you here.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Looking forward to whatever we will talk about.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, actually, the plan was to talk about you and your community involvement. And I think that should be an easy topic for you because you do get involved from time to time, we have noticed. The last time I think I saw you getting involved was at the Shopware United conference, right? You did it
in the Netherlands, exactly,
which was great. But I guess you didn't start with talking at conferences overnight, right? There was a path. There was an origin story, as we say in the Marvel universe. So I'd love to hear a bit about your origin story and why you got involved in the community.
Mm-hmm. So that's a long story by now. Thanks for asking. So I started to do shopper development 10 years ago. So I recently had my 10 years with Dasist Web as well as Germany, because I moved to Germany from Austria because of Dasist Web and because of Shopper. So how did it all start? I can still remember how I had to do my first plugins with Shopper. I think it was still Shopper 4 back then, so pretty long time by now. And after a while, when we improved on the development stuff, I did improve and learn Shopper. I first attended I think it was the theater, the movie of Shopper 5 back then in Munich. So that was the first touch point of the community where I was able to join in. So I didn't know anyone back then, so it was absolutely completely new for me, but still overwhelming because do you know any other software developer who that creates a movie for a new release, a new major release of a platforms? That was pretty cool. Then, as time went by, I did more with the Docker stuff because that is luckily the thing that made me or allowed me to do more what I love nowadays. So more talks, more teaching of people. So I was pretty lucky with the Docker thing because back then I think 8 years ago, there was the thing with Docker that didn't really work on Mac systems because we were all using Mac systems. And I just wanted to give it a shot because we were using Vagrant before, and then we moved to Docker, but it was really slow. So Shopware 5 back then, you couldn't really use it. So I tried to figure out why it was so slow. So the easy answer was because of the bind mounting, because you have all these cache folders with hundreds, thousands of files, which made things just way too slow to work with. So that was the initial idea of using SFTP. Just to upload as you would do with a traditional remote server. Was a bit misunderstanding, so not a huge fan of that, but that was at least the case or the solution that made it work back then. And the cool thing is that we had our own Docker images back then, and we were pretty happy. So there were a lot of images I had to maintain in our company, so different PHP versions, different Node versions. I think it was just 2 back then. But still, there was the community thing that people were just arguing and having troubles in the community with Docker on a Mac system. We decided there was a call for paper for the Shopware Community Day in 2020, I think.
All right.
And so the idea was to just help the people, developers in the community, and tell them how it would work to use Docker on a Mac in a fast way. And somehow it kind of escalated because from the original theory of how to approach things with Docker, we did a full product, as you know, Docker by now. So that, quickly escalated. And that was the entry point or the way, the path where the thing that helped me to enter the path of helping more and more in the community. So by now I'm allowed to do all kinds of things as mentioned with talks. I had webinars, we're allowed to do videos. And the thing that always gets me going is to do new stuff or proof of concepts that and see if you can really use it in a real company and not just having those new technology stuff and it doesn't really work in the end. And once I accomplish in doing that, I'm trying to do a blog post, trying to do talks about it and help others with that kind of sophisticated solution that worked for me or in our company.
Yeah. And I really like that, right? Because we're working on an open source framework, right? And the idea there is that if you have a problem, probably I'm running into the same problem or something quite familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So any problem that you might be bumping into, it's worth being vocal about it. It's worth posting about it in a blog or maybe even Stack Overflow, right? Just posting a question and an answer there.
Mm-hmm.
Because others will find that useful. I mean, you took it to the extreme and, of course, build a solution, did talks, created a company out of it, acquire something that many people still know and love. Recently, I was talking to someone that just wanted to see how Shopware works. I was like, okay, just spin up a Dockware Play instance and take it for a ride on your own laptops. I loved it, and I think that is the value of community and working with a community-driven solution, right? That collaboration.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing when we got our first feedbacks and responses to Dockware, it was just great because it was not just about positive things or that everything was working out of the box, but more the suggestions, ideas, bug fix hints and stuff like that. Because I do a lot of, when it comes to testing, speaking of bugs, every single software out there has probably so many bugs and defects inside because we as human beings make it. And you can only fix what you know. And the more people use it, the more people help together and collaborate on such a thing, the better the result will be in the future and in upcoming releases. So that's a crucial thing to really help together as a community on things like tools like Dockware or e-commerce systems at Shopware itself. Without the people using it and contributing back, there would never be a chance to make it so much better in the future.
Just to add here, maybe I think you're actually exactly right. I think what you just described, what is really important is that the community also basically enlarges the problem and the solution space by viewing the same thing from a different vector maybe and adding to it. By that, I believe like those open source solutions really can facilitate a really broad problem space, and you can basically get ideas that you wouldn't have come to alone, right? People are maybe using it slightly different, and that adds value to the overall thing.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. What I also love to share when I do talk with people about Shopware or the employees of Shopware, I'm always like, hey, these are human beings. They are like me and you. They make failures. They have good ideas. They might not have the best ideas in every single case. So the only thing to really make the product, which is the only thing that, not the only thing, but the most important thing that counts in the end to improve that is to help together and to share different point of views, different aspects, different point of views, basically. So it's like using AI. You can have wonderful answers from AI, but if you train it in a different way, how the role or how it should act like, you get completely different answers. And that's also with human beings.
Yeah, so we are human prompt engineers, right? We just prompt our community the right way. I love that. So I think a lot of people think they need to be highly visible and have a huge following on LinkedIn or Twitter or GitHub to get started, right? But I don't think that is needed. If anything, and I think also Shopware can play a role there to give people a podium. So maybe with that, I want to transition in the next question I had lined up for you, which is why it helps to have, one central place to have all these engagements, and how maybe, a bit of gamification helps there as well to encourage people to take that leap and, be more visible, ask that question, post that solution they came up with, and right, because you're quite an extrovert person. I can imagine that some people here are like, whoa, I would never do that. But yeah, what is your view on that?
Great question. So we're talking about the Shopware Community Hub right now, right? So a great thing. So I just love the idea of the Community Hub, because the thing is, so there are different different types of people when it comes to community collaboration, extroverts, introverts. So I wouldn't say that I'm an absolute extrovert. I think I'm more introvert or mixture, because the way how I try to contribute to the community is in absolutely different way than others do, because I'm not the person who writes in Slack all the time, tries to answer such as Fabian. He is always answering all these Slack questions, so I don't have enough time to it, and I just don't see it. I'm probably not the best person when it comes to providing pull requests all the time to Shopware, to the core Shopware. So in my case, what I do is I try to, as mentioned, try to figure out workflows, tools, sophisticated ways, and blog about it, or teach people through talks and toolings like Docware. But there are so many ways how you can and should contribute. Maybe it's writing a blog. You don't have to be on stage, just write a blog. Try to figure out things or make proof of concept plugins that give some ideas what you could do with Shopware in the future, for instance. Maybe others just want to attend events. So what I love with the Community Hub, before I come to that, is it gives me an idea of what is possible and what can be possible, because a centralized way, the Community Hub, has content about different blog posts, all these different events in the Shopware and e-commerce ecosystem where I could attend, where I could probably apply for a talk or submit a talk. There are different learning courses. I could probably share videos I'm doing for Shopware, tutorials as a merchant, as a developer. So that's a cool thing. So on the one hand, you have a centralized place to discover what could help you in your daily business. On the other hand, you see all these different opportunities where you can give something back to the community, and not just by doing talks, for instance. So there are so many ways, and it's a great thing for both point of views to give and to receive in a centralized place.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying there is an important thing to highlight, right? Contributing to the community doesn't need to be a 30-minute or a 1-hour talk, right? It doesn't need to be a 6-hour video series on how to use events or something like that, right? It can just be a 10-minute Loom video. Hey, I found this cool way to use Flow Builder, right? Or it can be this snippet on, hey, guess what? I removed this one line of code and all of a sudden the catalog is working way faster, right? Something like that. Contributions are of value, small and large. And I think having a place to easily share that, right, I think is also important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the big value here lies in the fact that all those different resources, may it be blog articles or like little learning videos, learning content, of course, code contributions, open source, GitHub projects, all that kind of stuff, having that from all over the community. So that's something that we are really emphasizing in the Community Hub, establishing a workflow for everybody to add content whatsoever, may it be code contributions or content in terms of blogs and stuff. Everybody is then able to do that, and that is valued and appreciated through gamification. And that is basically really, the first time having one space for all of that. We are basically thinking about a module we call like community projects, which will really be about centering around all those open source GitHub projects that we are having out there. There's no space right now where you can see those, and those can be appreciated, and you get a glimpse of, okay, what is it about? Who is leading that, and how can I contribute? And that's this kind of, bringing people together and celebrating that community contribution is something of great value, I believe.
Yeah, especially I love that idea, Dennis, that you also want to make visible, here are all the GitHub modules that people are, or plugins that people are working on, and, make a pull request, right? Add an extra feature. It doesn't need to be your own thing that you publish. One simple line of code can be enough.
Yeah, and what I'm also a huge fan of is bringing together the people behind those contributions. Because with the Community Hub, you also see you have those member rankings and socializing stuff, and that's a cool thing because there are so many great people in the community that you just need to know somehow, especially if you're new to the whole ecosystem and community. So when I had my first touch point with the community, I thought like, okay, these are those cool developer kids, if you would say that, and they're so much better than me, and how can I just talk to them? And now we're all friends because everyone is just super nice in that community. That's also, speaking of developers, most of the time we are just the faces behind the software, behind those landing pages that you in most cases never see. And the community hub is, I mean, it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not primarily for developers, more for everyone being involved, but especially focusing on developers, you really see these people not like LinkedIn posts only if you're connected to them, but you discover new people every single day, and that kind of gives us some kind of stage, even though if you don't want it, if you're an introvert, but it gives you some kind of stage to really that people see you, that you get to know other developers, and next time you're attending an event, you could just probably say hi to someone. Or with gamifications, have your kind of circle being extended, get to know more and more people, because in the end, it's just a huge bunch of people, of friends inside the community, right?
Yeah. I would be interested in since you kind of touched that already, the profile. So in the community hub, everybody has the possibility to also create his or her own community profile, with some stats with the activity, and we have like massive plans on what to put on that community profile, which can be public as well if you want. So we have plans there. Is your notion of the value of a community profile maybe from the perspective of a developer, but it's for everybody? What's the value?
Speaking as a human being, it's just like LinkedIn, but the people or the person doesn't know that you've visited the profile. But let's be honest, it's the first thing you do. You see maybe a small avatar, probably looks familiar. You go to the profile page and check out, do I know the person? Oh, it's a new person. What is that person up to? Speaking of website projects, or what agency or company is the person working for or with? So I do think it's, as a first touch point, like the business cards you hand out, one of the most important things, because it tells people who you are, and maybe it helps you to enter new conversation topics. Because if I do, also speaking of private stuff, maybe the community hub could have something like hobbies, and I would know, hey, who's doing the same sports as I do, and then we can connect in a completely different level, even though we're co-workers or in a working community, but it engages us probably in a passive way to become better friends, which is cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe this all sounds great, but a lot of people will still be like, no, it's a huge step. I don't have anything to share. My days are just installing themes and apps, and that is it. Where do people start, Christian? Where would you say, like, hey, today after listening this, you are inspired, go into this?
So I think you can never force anyone to do things after official work, after 5 p.m. or 10 p.m. for developers. But collaboration already starts if you give feedback. So if you just start by using the, let's say, community hub, answering a question from an employee of Shopware and giving some feedback, that is already something that helps a lot. It's something that's taken for a huge major release and a huge step forward. So I think there shouldn't be any pressure when it comes to collaborating to the community, because it already starts with some really small pieces. And once you really acknowledge that and are aware of, I think most of us probably figure out that we or they are already collaborating, and so the first step is already done, and the next thing is just to, I think, the gamification, the playful stuff. So you just hang out there, and we are all developers. We are creative somehow, hopefully. So I'm pretty sure that one day there is something where we want to do something, and may just be a blog post, may just be a solution, a hot fix. So I think what is missing in most cases, or most brains or thoughts of developers, is the thing where collaboration and community really starts. And with a centralized place, you'll figure out that it starts way earlier than you first thought, and that somehow visualizes that a lot are already more part of a community than they thought. So I would just play around and think of, without any pressure, things that are missing, help, talk to people, and that's a good way to start. And everyone will find a way that feels comfortable, that feels natural to collaborate in his or her own way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you mentioned early on in the conversation, it helps a lot also with your career path and what have you. And what I've found personally is that I used to be a developer, definitely not client-facing. I wanted to be more client-facing. And for me, getting into speaking at meetups and, doing webinars was actually a great way of learning those skills, right? So for me, I think contributing is also part of your personal growth and maybe thinking of where you want to excel in, whether that be something technical, right? I want to deep dive into a certain type of architecture, or get involved in front-end development using storefronts or whatever, or being client-facing. It could be a vehicle to kind of learn more of those skills. What are your views on that, Christian?
So I'm a huge fan of improving soft skills as a developer. So socializing, being able to really talk to and with people. So I would definitely recommend getting to meetups, events as much as possible, and just have a great time there. Because there also, I know a few people who are kind of introverts and a bit afraid to go to events, such as the Shopware Community Unconference in Cologne in a couple of weeks. I have people who didn't want to attend because they were afraid they had to talk about things. But there is no agenda, there is no pressure. You can just talk to people, have coffee, and just listen to other talks. So there should never be a pressure, and you should realize that and just have fun at events. So that improves social skills. And with social skills, you improve your confidence as a developer, which also has an absolute great impact on the way how you develop. Because if you have more confidence, you're very likely to maybe create different classes, back to PHP code, different classes, different architectural setups than if you think that everything you do is probably wrong. And then you grow first mentally and then technically. And it's both a combination in the growth as a developer. So that's the reason why I tend to never forget the soft skills and not just the techie stuff.
I think that's a really fair point. I think, developing is to a large degree really about understanding requirements. And speaking of requirements, maybe it's also about anticipating things that are not explicitly written down, right? And that's also something you learn with soft skills, of course.
Or the classical thing where really developers, if they try to talk to customers, clients, it's a completely different vocabulary. So if you're not familiar in talking as a human being, as a developer role, then you probably have some problems with communication. So it's really important, and especially if you maybe some want to have their own company one day, or maybe a developer decides on going the techie project manager way, because it's somehow way much more fun than just coding, but that always requires some social skills or soft skills in addition to pure coding.
I mean, thank you so much, Christian, for sharing your insights, for your path on getting involved in the community. I loved it. I love to hear your story of this small young boy from Austria crossing the border in an intrepid adventure to do Shopware 5. I mean, that is inspiring. Should be to anyone. Again, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Looking forward to seeing you at the next event. I think for anyone listening, if you have questions to Christian, if you have questions about Community Hub or about participating in general, write in. post on Slack, send us the questions via email, come to an event and ask us in person. We'll be reading out some of the questions in our next episode for sure. So make sure to send in, and thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time and great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.